Nigerian presidency on Sunday rejected opposition claims of a drift toward a one-party state, accusing critics of spreading what it described as desperate lies and manufactured hysteria over recent political defections. Earlier, a group of prominent civil society activists expressed deep concern over what they see as a systematic attempt to erode Nigeria's democratic foundations and push the country towards a one-party state. In a joint statement, the activists criticized the alleged weaponization of state institutions for political gain, pointing to defections from opposition politicians under pressure or fear of prosecution. But in a swift reaction, Tinubu's advisor, Bayo Onanuga, dismissed allegations that the country was sliding into authoritarianism, attributing the defections to the ruling APC as legitimate moves made by politicians exercising their constitutional rights. He defended the growing support for President Tinubu, asserting that democracy under his leadership is stronger than ever, with freedom of association and political choice vigorously protected. Well, Arise News analyst Sobowale joins us now for a discussion on the accusations and counter-accusations between the opposition and the presidency over claims that Tinubu is turning Nigeria into a one-party state. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale. Many thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here.
Where do you stand regarding this?
Okay, we are supposed to look at the two sides, not to take sides. So, which one do you look at first?
Are you on the fence?
Okay, let me look.
Or are you on the fence, or
you have not heard me. I said we are supposed to discuss both sides, not to take sides.
Okay.
Are you asking me if I'm on the fence?
I am.
No way.
Okay.
I cannot be on the. We have to discuss the issue. And
right.
I'm asking you, where do we stand? Is it for the side that says we are going to one-party state, or the one that says we are in a robust democracy? Where do we start? You make a choice.
Well, you're our guest, so
okay,
you can observe both sides.
Okay, both sides. Now, let's start from the government side. Obviously, the government is basking in the euphoria of the victory of the defection to its side. But that is how it should be. The opposition is disgruntled with the defection. That too is how it should be. But what should matter to all of us is the coming competition for power in 2027, which all these are geared to us. We all should be working towards making sure that the election is free and fair. The fact that people are defecting shows that Nigeria is not a political graveyard. People shift ideas, you shift opinions, you change when it is convenient for you, provided you don't throw overboard your moral barometer for taking action. So I have said it here several times, that I think we have a robust democracy, and that I don't think anybody can turn Nigeria into a one-party state. Nobody. The problem with the opposition now, if you personalize it through Atiku, is that he has not put his house in order. UK is still holding them by the balls, and they just cannot move, and they cannot expel him. And I've said it here before, that UK is like a Trojan horse in their compound, agent of the government of the day. So that has paralyzed them. Obi and the obedience, you see, they have problem continually with NLC. And Obi himself is busy disparaging Nigeria all over the world. He went to, I think it was the governor of Lagos State who took him on now. Disparaging Nigeria because of the level of poverty. And then comparing Nigeria with Vietnam and China, which are one-party states. And this is what they are fighting against here in Nigeria. You get me? So my contention is that I still believe we have a robust democracy, and I don't believe we can run a one-party state in Nigeria. Nigeria is too big and diverse, and the antecedents of our political institutions are so diversified and varied that so many issues will come into play in such a way that you can't have everybody being in one party. Not in this Nigeria. Let's leave it at that.
Well, you know, you have rightly said that it's one person cannot turn Nigeria to one-party state. But we've seen the gale of defection, especially from the PDP to the APC, and the most recent one that happened in Delta State, which has raised questions as regards what the APC is dangling before these party members to make them defect to their party. Some have said that perhaps, in 2019, Adams Oshiomhole, I'm not done with my question, Mr. Sobowale. So in 2019, Adams Oshiomhole had said that when you join the APC, all your sins would be forgiven. And a lot of people have attributed this current defection to that particular statement, saying that perhaps there's some form of threat involved, coercion, and all of that. Where do you stand in that?
Yeah, I stand by what I said earlier, that I think it is still, this time now I'm echoing what Bayo, another guy, is saying, because he's enjoying it. We have a robust democracy, no matter what Professor Oshiomhole must have said earlier. People keep on rearranging their values, their prospects, their expectations. And you don't need to dangle anything. Politics are also always bread and butter politics. Very rarely do you have people who are robustly in the opposition, like Awolowo. And to some extent, Atiku has done that. But the problem is that in the process of criticizing the government of the day, the price for that is the collapse of his own party. You get me? As long as you have a free environment, freedom of movement, freedom of association, like the government spokesman said, people are free to wander to anywhere they go, subject to the law of the land. If you think what they are doing is to take them to court, let the courts rule on that.
Okay, Mr. Sobowale, yes. let me borrow part of Bolanle's question. Perhaps it's not dangling. It might be a case of coercion.
Look, let me save your...
No.
I will call it a release. You have the same sources of information.
Okay.
I call it BBC politics. That's Nigerian politics. Blackmail, bribery, and coercion. That's what those eminent people call it. I know you won't forget. Call it Nigeria's BBC politics.
Nigeria's BBC, okay. Yeah. Thank you for the...
Blackmail, bribery, and coercion.
Okay.
But they have not always been the instruments for the acquisition and the loss of power.
That is true. But if we look at the timeline, Mr. Sobowale, the timeline of events, for instance. So, for instance, what happened in River State, which really threw a lot of people off when the president
I don't know about that.
That's okay.
Well, I know what happened.
Of course. Which threw a lot of people off that felt that it was Fubara's hand was being forced. He was being made to give up his seat, at least for a specific amount of time. And then going back to what Mobolale...
I don't share.
Which is fine.
That's right.
And then going back to what Mobolale rose, the issue of Adams Oshiomhole, let's even depart from that. I saw a very interesting article that talked about how you defect and then all your EFCC matters they disappear. Like what we saw with the Senate president, that was cited in that article. Yes. So shall we say that as time progresses, if we see that Okowa's EFCC case just disappears, can we deduce that perhaps his hand was forced and this was not a case of just free will but coercion?
That would be your own decision. But let me tell you, point blank. There is hardly any former governor who is in the Senate who does not have a case with EFCC. Do you know that?
I'm aware.
And you see, the EFCC, you cannot stigmatize the EFCC because it was brought in to fight corruption. So you have to be very, very careful there in rubbishing the EFCC. The EFCC is doing its job. If people reach the conclusion that once Mr. Lagbaja opts out of case with EFCC, and then he moves to APC later, it could be a coincidence, it could be contrived, it could be the real thing. What does it matter? The FCC must do its job. You cannot, I would rather the FCC does its job and raise in corruption. You get me? than lose some sleep over defections. You get me now? Next question.
Well, looking at all of this, updates and development, what do you think are the potential long-term effect of a dominant, maybe not a one-party state, but a dominant party? As it stands now, the APC has about over 30 states and the PDP has about 11. What do you think is the import of that?
See, we are all jumping the gun. We are all jumping the gun. And there's even a more serious thing around. The World Bank, which we worship and we go to every year, has just issued a report now, which I think is almost political, that by 2027, 50% of Nigerians will be living, about 50% will be living in poverty. So what do you mean? That is, to me, even more dangerous than what we are discussing now. If people are living in poverty and our leaders, our CBN, governor, minister, all of us go to pay homage to them at the IMF and they say reforms are working, and then the same IMF says by 2027, which is our election year, have they not campaigned against the government of the day? Or have they not, if we must believe them, take them in, hook, line, and sinker, that is not damaging to the image of this government than all this we are discussing. Let people defect, you get me? But let us have a stable political system that puts food on the table for people.
How much food are we getting under this administration?
That is, you are not the administration.
I'm just saying that as a Nigerian, how much food do we have on our table?
To put food on the table. And don't let us be comparing our multi-party system with Vietnam or China, which are one-party system. And it's part of the opposition.
True. Well, Mr. Sobowale, we'd like to thank you for your insights. Thank you for joining us here on Newsday. We appreciate your time.